Hello, good evening, everyone. Can everyone hear me? This is Ram from Mathus Academy. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay.
Yes, Ram.
Let's see who all are there so far. Shailesh, Advai, Abhiram, Ashwin, Shobha, Rishabh, Amaralita, Sid. Did I miss anyone? Okay. So just so you know, this webinar is meant for parents. If they're high school students, they may listen in, but it is primarily meant for parents because it will talk about uh, what are SAT, ACT, from what parents need to understand as well as about the classes. So if any students are there in the session, please do call your parents because it's primarily meant for addressing their questions. But if high school students want to listen, that's and unless you have any question, can you please mute so we don't disturb?
You should be there. Just listen to it.
Just to avoid any distractions, I'm going to mute everyone except me for now. And but if you do want to, if you have a question or comment, you can unmute yourself and say it. And there's also a chat, so you can go to the chat session and type any questions. I'll just say hi everyone so that you see where it is. And I have one more request. At the end of it, we're going to email the presentation. And I also want to tailor the today's discussion based on the student grade. So if you can help me one thing, when you go to chat, next to two, there is a drop down. So select Mathus Academy there, either Mathus Academy or my name there, and type your email address so that you can email the presentation, and your child's grade and name. Could everybody find the chat box? Yep, I see one of you already, Shailesh, has done. Perfect. Shailesh, if you can also try, maybe give your child's name just so. But I think email and grade are the most useful information, but yeah, and the child's name. Okay, that's good. Yeah, if each of you can do that. So far, there's some from 8th grade, some from 10th grade. Please also, Sneha, can you also type your email? Email, you can give it privately, just to me or for privacy. Else. Okay, thanks, Lalita. Sneha, you got your grade. You can also type the email. Okay, perfect. 6th and 9th. If all of you can do the same. Abhiram, Advai, Gangadhara, Manas, Rishabh, Shobha, Sid. Okay, yes, they see that. All right, while you are doing that, we'll get started. For someone who just joined, I requested that in the chat, there's a private chat where you can select Mathus Academy, and please type your email address so that we can email the presentation at the end of the session, and also your child's name and grade. In the meantime, we'll get started. So everybody can see the presentation, right? You can just type yes into the chat box. Just muted everybody to keep it focused. All right, good evening to everyone, or good afternoon, depending on your time zones. It could be still early afternoon for some. So today's agenda, first, let me introduce myself for those of you who are attending this similar session for the first time. My name is Ram Yeleti. I live in Atlanta. I'm the founder of Mathus Academy. I call myself educational evangelist. It's my passion, and I started Mathus Academy for fun about in 2011, about 9 years back, and it has been an amazing journey. And I do have a I used to have a software related job, but now consulting. But this is really what I love to do most. Talking to parents, talking to students, helping students realize their passions and dreams. And I don't know about you, but I'm a first generation Indian American, and I come across many similar to me, many parents similar to me, and sometimes the landscape. There are a lot of opportunities in this country, but sometimes it's confusing. Sometimes there's so many options and there's so much information. When we're growing up, often there's not enough information. Now there's so much information that sometimes it's overwhelming, right? We don't know what's true, what's not, what is reliable, or what is important and what is not important. So I try to do many of these webinars to help pass the information. And we also offer many classes. So toward the later part, I will talk about the classes, but first I'll just talk about what is SAT, ACT, PSAT, how are they structured, who uses them, what's important information, etc. Feel free to ask question anytime. Please stay on mute. Unless you have a specific question, please stay on mute. You can also, I think the best is you can type the question into the chat box. And for those of you joined late, in the chat, there is a private option where you can just select my name, Mathus Academy name, and just type your email address, name, and your child's name and your child's grade. We're going to email the presentation at the end of the session. And also I want to know the grade so that I can address accordingly. All right, so agenda wise, for those, because many of you seem to be new, I'll just briefly talk about what's Mathus Academy, very briefly for a minute. Then we'll talk about what are SAT, PSAT, ACT, who conducts them, how are they structured, how many questions, what time, how should one prepare them for them, and then we'll talk more about the classes later down. At any time, feel free to ask questions. Just type the question into the chat. When you're typing a question, you can type to everyone. When you're typing your email or your child's details, etc., do it in private chat just to Mathus Academy. But if you have a question, you can type to everyone. I see only half of you provided the details so far. I see from Shailesh, Sneha, M. Lalita, Gangadhara, Sid, Madhavi, Shobha. Rest of you, can you please type your information in the chat? Just in the private chat. We don't have a couple. And if any kids have joined, any students have joined, please do call your parents. This session is primarily for parents. High school students are welcome to listen in as well, but I think a lot of this information is going to be useful for parents, especially first-time parents. If you have a high school child or about a child who's just about to go to high school, it will be useful information for parents. So what is Mathus Academy? So our mission, we believe that every child is endowed with an abundance of potential, and we strive hard to bring the best out of every child. Believe every child has potential already, and our goal is really to help bring it out. We do a number of programs, webinars like this, both sometimes for parents, sometimes for children. We also conduct classes. We conduct online tests. We've been conducting in math for several years. We also do spelling bees. We are planning to add more to the tests. And sometimes we conduct specific events like a math festival, etc., to make it interesting for the kids. And last month I did a series of webinars for the kids on the beauty of math. I hope to do more of similar ones in future. We're based in Atlanta, but we are mostly virtual. Well, nowadays only virtual. We also have a couple of centers in Atlanta, but they also went online because of the current situation. So what are SAT and PSAT? And some of you maybe already know these facts very well. Some of you, especially, know if you have first time high school students, may have some questions. So I'll go over this, but I'll go fairly quickly. But if you have any questions, feel free to ask. You don't need to wait until end, you can ask anytime. So SAT and PSAT are tests conducted by an organization called College Board. By the way, it is the same organization that also conducts for high school students AP. All of you might have heard about AP classes and AP exams, advanced placement. It is the same organization which conducts these as well. AP, by the way, is basically college level courses offered in high school, and actually students get credits while they're in high school. The advantage of that is in this country, the college degree is based on the credits you complete. It's not based on the number of years you have to attend. Unlike in India, where you have 4 years degree, you have to do 4 years or more, but not less. But here it's all based on credits. So if you finish credits in 3 years, or some students finish in 2 years or 2.5 years, they're all semesters. So it could be 2.5 years or 3 years or 3.5 years, you're done. It has two advantages. One is obviously you finished early. You could start earning early, but even more important, the college is extremely expensive. So by doing the credits in the high school, you're practically doing it for free, except the AP exam fee, which is $50, $60 or something like that, versus a semester runs into each course runs into thousands of dollars. Yeah. So you earn the credits while in high school, while it fulfill both high school credits and college credits. But AP exams for a different day, but SAT and PSAT are required for all the students, and so it's the same organization that conducts it. SAT and PSAT comprise of math and English. Within English, there is a reading part and there is a writing part. And there's an optional essay. Essay is different from writing. The writing part is really more about the grammar, identifying errors, etc. Essay is they actually give an essay. You have to analyze it and you have to write in the way you're asked to write. But it's optional. So what does it mean to be optional? So while registering for SAT, you can select whether your child would take essay or not. But some colleges would require it, some may not require it. And if you go to college admission, each university has an admission page on their website. If you go there, it gives all the requirements and it gives the median SAT scores and it gives many other admission related information and whether essay is required or not. We recommend that the students write essay only because you wouldn't know in advance which all universities you might apply in advance, right? Because you apply during the senior year, during the 12th grade fall, and typically you take SAT before that. And even when you're applying, right, you don't know, one university might require a form that you are applying. You don't want to not have the score, just in case you want to apply for a university that does have, that does require the score. Okay. Does anybody have a question? If you have a question, you can type into the chat box. Any questions so far on the subjects that come in SAT and PSAT? I'll talk more about the difference between SAT and PSAT in the next slide. So first, let's talk about SAT score. So SAT math score, all of you would have heard about this, very popular 1600. Right? It used to be 2400 until March 2016. So math has 800, max score of 800. It is actually between 200 to 800. And reading and writing together, that is English, is 800. Until 2016, reading used to have its own 800 and writing its own 800. That's how it used to be 2400. But now reading and writing are combined into a combined 800. So total is only 1600. And the essay is always scored separately because it's optional. It has a score of 8, 8, and 8, total 24. 8 for the reading, 8 for analysis, and 8 for writing. So all combined is into essay. And this will be actually graded by two different scorers, two different graders, typical English teachers, high school English teachers who manually grade. This is the only part which is manually graded. Whereas math and reading, writing, it's all graded by computer because you just fill the bubbles, but essay is manually graded, and its score is always given separately, and it's optional. Any questions so far? How does the test look like? So the SAT test has, it comprises of 3 hours and 50 minutes, if you, including essay. If you don't take essay, it is 3 hours, but the actual test will be much longer. The reason being, you go early and first they take half an hour to get everything started, and there's also breaks between sections. So there are 4 sections, including essay 5 sections, and there'll be breaks between the sections, and the breaks could vary slightly. So the total could be anywhere between 4.5 hours or long, up to 5 hours. So it's a long test, and it's a test of endurance as much of a test of knowledge and ability to take the test, but it's also a test of endurance. So the test always appears in this order. The first is always reading. It has 52 questions. It will have multiple passages. The reading will comprise of multiple passages, and for each passage there will be associated questions. And there are 52 questions, and you get 65 minutes. So you get a little bit over a minute. It's about 75 seconds per question in reading. Writing and language has 44 questions and 35 minutes. So a little bit less than a minute per second, per question. You might wonder why is that the case. Reading typically is considered the hardest of the sections because you first have to read the passages. And by the way, the passages are like college level passages. They're not easy. And then the questions, many of them, you need to interpret. You need to understand what the author is talking about, and then be able to answer questions as what is main idea, what's author thinking about it. And sometimes it's argumentative. It goes from paragraph to paragraph. The author might go back and forth. And so there's a lot of analysis required. So it takes usually a little bit of time. For some questions, after reading the passage and you go to the question, you may have to go back certain times you have to go to certain line number and reread and answer. So that's why it takes a little bit longer. Writing and language, on the other hand, are more straightforward questions, more like grammar kind of questions. Math has two parts: math without a calculator, 20 questions in 25 minutes, and math with calculator, 38 questions in 55 minutes. So these are also a little bit over a minute, like 75 seconds per minute per question. Because math also requires a little bit more analysis and problem solving. And in most cases, the questions start with easy ones and slowly increase in difficulty as you go on, except in reading because of the passages. That structure doesn't follow, but for in all other sections, you start with a relatively easier question, then they start getting harder later. And the essay is one essay, a optional essay that is 50 minutes. So the total of 154 questions plus the essay is 3 hours and 50 minutes, not including breaks. Any questions? And for those who joined later, I think some of you still did not type in the Zoom chat box. There is a chat. Open that up and that please type your email. We're going to email the presentation at the end of this webinar. So you need the email address and also your kids' grade and name. Do it in the private. You can select next to two. You can select Mathus Academy and just type it over there because you have private information. So your email and but any questions you can type to everyone. There's a question from Madhavi. Do kids still opt for taking essay? We do recommend that you opt for taking the essay. Now, the way it works is for SAT, you would actually go to College Board website and register, like a first sign up with the students' details. And then you actually register when to take the SAT. SAT is offered multiple times throughout the year, and you can decide when to take the test. And so you would actually register. And while registering, you can opt whether to take essay or not. So typically, you discuss with your student and you decide whether to take the essay or not. And I would recommend that you would take essay, although it is optional, because you wouldn't know which colleges you're applying or which all colleges. We always recommend that you apply for multiple, maybe 6 to 8 colleges or so. Even if you have highly preferred college, you should always apply for multiple colleges because the college admission process is that itself. I'll probably do another webinar. In fact, we're planning a panel discussion by bringing in college students who have gone through the process, those who themselves are highly motivated kids, and we're planning a webinar, the panel discussion in June. We'll talk about the entire process. We also have a college admission as a separate offering. But for those who attend our SAT or ACT classes, we do offer informal advice. As the course goes on, if you have any questions, not just for SAT, we do offer any advice, any question that you have about general questions about college admission process, but specifically to help a student through the application process, to build a resume. It's really like building a resume over the high school, 9th grade to 12th grade, everything matters for the 4 years. And essay, there's a college essay, typically you write during the summer of 11th grade before the college application. We do offer that separately, but we provide the general advice as part of SAT, ACT classes. And please do attend the panel discussion. We'll send an email and post it on our website once we finalize the schedule for the panel discussion. But so it's a long process, and there are multiple factors, not just SAT and ACT. So I would do recommend that you take essay to answer your question, Madhavi. because you don't know which college you're applying in advance, and you don't want to preclude any college just because your student did not take the essay. And we do teach that as part of our SAT classes. We do math, yes, English, essay, everything. Sometimes we get inquiries for just only my child already is getting perfect or close to perfect score in a math. We just need in English. We do offer that separate as a course, but our SAT courses will cover everything: math, reading, writing, essay, everything. But if you just only want English because your student already is getting perfect score in math, we do offer English only. We don't really offer math as a separate one because we never got that. Hey, my child is already getting perfect score in English. Can we do all math? I never got that so far. But so we do offer English as a separate course or everything together as one course. Okay, now SAT versus PSAT. Okay, there are two variations of PSAT. This is often a source of confusion. So many parents ask about PSAT, and often it means different things. So let me clarify. There are two versions of PSAT. One is just called PSAT, or this used to be the only PSAT in the past. Sometimes it is also called NMSQT, a National Merit Scholarship based test. And this PSAT is typically offered at the high schools when your student is in 10th or 11th grade. Some schools may offer this PSAT also in the 9th grade, but most high schools offer it in 10th and 11th grade. This is primarily meant for practice. And in 11th grade, it has a special significance. In 11th grade, the PSAT is also called NMSQT because based on the 11th grade or the high school junior PSAT, which is always offered in the month of October, both for 10th and 11th graders. It's offered in the October. This year we have to see how this plays out. Hopefully everything will be normal by then. And that, based on that score, students also get qualified for National Merit Scholarship for the college during college process. So it has a special significance for 11th grade. But otherwise, so what is this test? PSAT is almost same as SAT. It has exactly the same syllabus. It has exactly the same format with a couple of differences. One, it has slightly fewer questions and hence a slightly lower score. Instead of 1600 is only 1520 total. So math is 760 max instead of 800 and reading and writing is 760. So it's slightly lesser, so fewer question. And also there is no essay. Other than that, it is almost exactly same as SAT. So from a preparation perspective, there is no difference between SAT and a regular PSAT or an MSQT. Now, there is a second PSAT called PSAT 8-9. This was introduced a little bit later by College Board. This was primarily meant for practice because students nowadays practice much more sooner than 10th, 11th grade. So for 8th and 9th graders. And this is even shorter. It's only 720 in math and 720 in reading, writing, and no essay. So total 40 out of 1440. But there is another major significant difference between PSAT, regular PSAT and PSAT 8-9. It is not only a shorter version of PSAT, it also has some of the more difficult concepts excluded. So it doesn't have some of the more advanced concepts. Whereas PSAT itself has all the concepts that are there. Syllabus is same as SAT, but PSAT 8-9 does not have some of the other concepts because it is meant for younger students. Now, what is interesting is who takes these tests. Before that, any questions on PSAT and PSAT 8-9? You can either type the question to the chat or you can unmute yourself, ask the question, and after the question, please do mute yourself. Any questions on SAT, PSAT, and PSAT 8-9 and their scores, etc.? Okay. So earlier I mentioned for SAT, how many questions and number of what is the time. So this is a breakup for PSAT. For PSAT and PSAT 8-9, in reading for PSAT, there is 47 questions instead of 52 and 60 minutes. Writing and language, 44 questions and 35 minutes. That's actually same as SAT. No difference for writing and language because it's already short enough. In math, both sections together, the two sections I combined them for convenience. Instead of 58 questions, there are only 48 questions and combined 70 minutes. So total, there are 139 questions instead of 154, and it's 2 hours and 45 minutes. There is no essay. So if we remember, excluding essay for SAT, it was 3 hours and essay 50 minutes. Now it is 2 hours and 45 minutes. Only 15 minutes shorter if you remove the essay part. For PSAT 8-9, on the other hand, is even shorter. There are 42 questions reading, 55 minutes, 40 questions in writing and language, 30 minutes, 38 questions in math, 60 minutes, and a total of 120 questions and 2 hours and 25 minutes and no essays. So all of the test, the actual time the student will be in the test will be longer because there will be breaks as well. Okay. Any questions? Don't worry. Like this. Okay. I'll come back to who uses SAT and ACT later. So let's look at ACT structure. So often there is a question on SAT versus ACT for high school students. So let's talk about what are the differences first, and then I will answer the question which one to take or whether to take both, etc. So ACT has a max score of 36. Its scale is quite different. So there are 4 sections. There are actually 4 subject areas. There's also science. There's a math, science, reading, and what ACT calls English. The English is equivalent to the writing and language part of SAT. And each of these, the student will be scored on 36. And the total score is average of 36. Unlike in SAT, which is they add the individual scores to get the total, in ACT, it averages the scores. For example, let's say somebody gets 35 in math, 33 in science, 32 in reading, 34 in English, just take an example, and then they take the average of all of that and they round it up or down based on if it is more than, let's say you get a 33.6, that will be 34. I get a 33.2, that's 33. And essay is still optional, just like in SAT, but now it's on a total of 12, still given separate. So that's how the ACT score works. Any questions on ACT structure? I'll come to the structure, I think, but on the scoring, let me know if you have any questions. So in ACT, this is the order. It always comes in this order. The first section in ACT is always the English, which is equivalent to the writing and language in SAT. There's 75 questions and 45 minutes. Math has 60 questions and 60 minutes. There's only one section for math, 60 questions and 60 minutes. Reading, 40 questions and 35 minutes. Science, 40 questions and 35 minutes. And essay is 40 minutes. A total of 215 questions and the essay in 3 hours and 35 minutes, excluding the breaks. You would have noticed one striking difference between SAT and ACT in terms of the number of questions and time. The time per question is actually less. Number of seconds per question is less in ACT, which means that ACT is more time constrained. The question, I'm sorry, the questions in SAT are considered more critical thinking in nature. ACT are more straightforward, more school-like, but there is less time per question. So that is one thing. If a student is a little bit slow in reading, for example, or then maybe SAT, but good in critical thinking, but not really very fast, then SAT may be better. On the other hand, the student is very good with in managing time during the test, then ACT may be better. That's one way. But nowadays, a lot of students take both SAT and ACT at different times. I don't recommend taking both at the same time because each of them require a different kind of prep. The questions are different. Obviously, some of the subjects are different. The types of questions are slightly different. They're not wholly different. There obviously there's some commonalities between the two, but there are differences as well. But it requires slightly different type of prep. But you can take them for college admission purpose. You can take any time during the high school, 9th to 12th grade. Any time counts. I would recommend taking latest by 11th, end of 11th, because you would start applying in the fall of 12th grade. But nowadays, many students take 10th grade or even 9th grade. I'll talk about some 7th or 8th graders take, not for the purpose of college admission, but for a different purpose. I think I have a slide for that. The next slide. But any questions so far? Either on SAT, ACT, PSAT. Any questions so far? I'm either addressing very well or probably I'm just going all over. But I think I'm assuming all of you are fairly familiar, so you don't have many questions. I see that one or two of you joined a little bit late. If you joined late, in the chat, please type your email address and your child's grade and name. We'll email this presentation after the webinar. Also, I want to structure my talk addressing different grades. So if you know the grade, it will be useful. So type into the chat. I think many of you already typed, but I see one or two did not yet. So please do type. Karthik has a question. Why is essay optional? What is the advantage of taking it? So the reason is, well, it's more historical in nature. So essay was not introduced. So SAT, the College Board and SAT have been in existence for almost 100 years. And reading and writing, it used to be called as quantitative and verbal. If any of you wrote GRE and GMAT, probably you're familiar with that terminology. So SAT also used to be like that. And ACT started much later. And historically, so SAT has been very popular with all the universities in the East Coast and West Coast, and ACT started in the Midwest. It is ACT actually started, the organization which conducts ACT is the University of Iowa, and they started ACT, and it used to be very popular in Midwest. Nowadays, all universities across the country accept both. So there's really, you can take either one. But essay was introduced both by SAT, both College Board and ACT much later. It wasn't there originally. So many universities, so the way it works is the College Board or ACT conducts the test, but college admission process, it is up to the university on how they interpret it. And most universities, not most, many universities did not consider essay score for admission purpose. And many, even today, they never considered essay. They only looked at reading, writing part for essay, or reading, writing, and or reading English and science part for ACT. And because of that, the confidence on the score has always been low because many universities are not using. And actually ACT always made it optional. But in SAT, it used to be required until 2015, until March 2016. And then in March 2016, College Board changed the SAT structure. Actually now, so they made it optional at the time because many universities are not requiring. Why make it required? So that's the reason why it is made optional. Now to answer what are the advantages of taking it. By the way, if you're typing any question, you can address it to everyone instead of private because so others may not be able to see Karthik's question I'm reading. So his question is, why is essay optional and what is the advantage of taking it? The advantage of taking it is basically you would not know in advance which all universities you're applying to. And what if you want to apply for a university in your senior year, that is 12th grade, and you did not take the essay, then you obviously cannot apply for that university. So that is the reason why we do recommend that you take essay. Unless you know for sure, which is very rare, but you know for sure that these are the 6 or 7 universities I'm going to apply, you know in advance, and all of them do not require, then you may not have to take. But otherwise, for most students, we advise that you write essay as well. Did I address the question? And any other questions before I move on? Okay. So who uses these scores for SAT and ACT and PSAT? So obviously one is college, universities use it for college admission process. And by the way, SAT and ACT can be taken multiple times. We often get this question, how many times can you take? There is no restriction on how many times, but we do recommend probably 2 to 3 times. Unless the very first time you get the perfect score or whatever the score that you want, you get it first time, you don't have to take it. Otherwise, probably 2 or 3 times. More than that is probably not recommended because you kind of lose seriousness after a time if you keep taking many times. And by the way, the score that is reported is the highest score. And some universities also take what is known as a super score. If you get higher score in math in one SAT test that you're taken, and higher score in English, that is reading, writing, in a different test, and they take the super score. The super score is basically the sum of the 2 higher scores. But that is up to the university. Some universities take super score and some don't take it. And so that's why it's better to take, unless you get really good score very first time, maybe 2 times. I would say max 3 times. But you do report how many times during the high school it was taken. Now the colleges say that that doesn't really factor into admission process, but the admission process is a little bit vague in this country. It is always, there is a amount of subjectivity. So if there are students of equal capability, it may or may not play into it. But so I wouldn't recommend more than 3 times. And usually you should be able to get a good score or score that you want within 3 times. So it's primarily used for college admission, and only the SAT or ACT taken during high school, during 9th to 12th grade count. Anything that is taken before high school does not count. It is also sometimes used when certain high school students finish all the courses that are offered at the school, including the AP courses. Then certain local universities offer additional online courses for high school students during their 11th or 12th grade. And in Georgia, for example, Georgia Tech offers online courses. These are truly college courses, even beyond AP courses, and offered by the local universities, and anybody in that state can take those. But to take that, you need to get a required SAT or ACT score. And some high school students take SAT early on. So even it might apply to even for 10th graders. So they might take in the 9th grade to get a good score so that they can take those courses during the 10th or 11th grade. And a third and very popular one for middle schoolers, again, not all middle schoolers, but those who are really advanced, uh, is 7th or 8th graders take this for either, I put it as a Duke tip. Duke tip is offered by a university called Duke University in Raleigh, North Carolina. The TIP stands for Talent Identification Program. Another one is called Johns Hopkins CTY, Center for Talented Youth, offered by Johns Hopkins University in Baltimore. And there's another one by Northwestern in Chicago called CTD, Center for Talent Development. These universities have 7th or 8th graders take SAT or ACT, not PSAT, but actual SAT or PSAT. And for that, you actually have to register through Duke Tip website or the Johns Hopkins CTY website if you have any questions. And if you want to take the SAT class for that purpose, email us, will help you with that and how to apply for that. But once you apply through the Duke Tip or Johns Hopkins CTY website, you actually apply for SAT or ACT through Duke Tip or Johns Hopkins CTY and take that SAT, and that will not count towards college admission, number of attempts for college admission process. So anything that is taken only from 9th grade and onwards will count. So those are the main uses of SAT, ACT. Now PSAT 8-9 is used by Duke Tip for 5th, 6th graders. Actually 4th to 6th, it may be a little bit hard for 4th, but advanced 4th to 6th graders can take PSAT 8-9 during their 4th, 5th, or 6th grade to qualify for Duke Tip. So what are the advantages of Duke Tip or Johns Hopkins CTY? One, if you get a qualifying score, the student will be invited for award ceremonies, which is morale boosting for the students. Two, it's a bragging right in the college applications. It is not necessarily a deciding factor, but it is a useful one to quote. Three, they offer summer programs during the following summer. So for 7th or 8th graders, after finishing 7th or 8th grade, after the summer, so this summer is weird, there are no on-site programs, all of them move to online, but otherwise there is a residential summer programs. You have to pay the fee, but even with that, you have to qualify first. Similarly, 5th, 6th graders can qualify using PSAT 8-9. So many 5th, 6th graders do take PSAT 8-9 for the Duke Tip and get qualified. So there's a lot of information. I spoke quite a bit, so I'll pause there. Any questions about SAT, ACT, or PSAT? Or when to take it, why to take it, or what's Duke Tip? Any questions? All right, that's great. Next, I think this is all about SAT, ACT tests. Now, I know many of you are emailed us about the courses that are offered. Before that, I think I have one more slide on PSAT. Who is this PSAT? Stroke NMSQT. So this is primarily meant as a practice for 9th, 10th, and 11th graders. Most high schools offer 10th and 11th graders. All high schools offer 11th grade. Many high schools offer 10th grade. Some high schools offer even 9th grade. This you can only take through the high school. Unlike SAT, which you can take anytime during the year, it is offered multiple times, both SAT and ACT. But PSAT, you can only take it to the high school. It's always offered in October by the high schools in your own high school or students' high school. And you'll get typically communication from the school to register for it. 10th grade is often free. Many states offer 10th grade free, but 11th grade is most critical from a scholarship viewpoint for National Merit Scholarship. and I already talk about the structure, etc. So that is the primary use for PSAT, and of course National Merit Scholarship, as I mentioned. PSAT 8-9 on the other hand is primarily meant for practice for 8th and 9th graders. So many middle schools and some high schools in the 9th grade offer this. So it's interesting. Some high schools offer PSAT 8-9. Some high schools actually offer PSAT 10-11 itself for 9th graders. It's often depends on the location, demographics, etc. And you can find from your high school, typically the school sends a communication and what is offered, and the high school students, you also get information from counselors. There's a question, again, this came from private chat, others can't see it, but this is from Shailaja. Why would 11th graders want to take the PSAT if they already did it in 10th grade? Shailaja, the reason is the 11th grade PSAT has a special significance for scholarships called NMSQT, National Merit Scholarship. And so if you get a qualifying score in that, they will be eligible for certain scholarships. That is the reason PSAT for 11th grade has a special significance. It is not just the practice. In fact, some students, it even finish SAT itself, not PSAT, SAT itself, they got a perfect score or whatever score they want in the 10th grade or even 9th grade. They still take PSAT in the 11th grade because the National Merit Scholarship is only based on PSAT 11th grade, not based on the SAT or PSAT taken earlier. A little bit weird, but that's how the scholarship works, and that's why the 11th grade PSAT is taken even though they have taken PSAT in the 10th grade or even 9th grade. But the preparation for PSAT or an MSQT is exactly same as SAT, unless so the courses that we offer, right, when we say PSAT, it is actually PSAT 8-9. We don't really offer a separate coaching for PSAT because that is same as SAT. There's no difference. So if your students are rising 10th or 11th graders and going to take PSAT in the fall, the course, the summer course they can attend is SAT, not PSAT 8-9. The PSAT 8-9 is primarily for middle schoolers or even 5th or 6th graders, those who want to apply for Duke Tip, etc. So as I mentioned this earlier, PSAT 8-9 is used by 4th to 6th graders. It is technically 4th to 6th. I often say 5th to 6th because for 4th grade students, unless they are like way ahead of their grade, it is going to be very hard. Even 5th, 6th graders, it is hard, but the many students are advanced enough to take it. And interestingly, PSAT 8-9 is also used in certain states by certain private schools and magnet schools as an admission criteria. So the middle schools in those states or counties offer PSAT 8-9 for 8th or 7th graders. And based on that, the local magnet schools or private schools will actually offer admission. For example, in Georgia, there are some counties, for example, Cobb County, a certain magnet school, there's a Wheeler Magnet School, there's a Walton STEM School. They actually take the PSAT 8-9 scores by middle schoolers for admission into that specific high school program from 9th grade. So, but again, you will know locally, if that is the case, you will probably know from your schools. So I see that a couple of you joined a little bit later. For those of you joined later, we are going to email this presentation after the webinar. Please do type your email if you haven't already. Go to the chat and select the private chat, select Mathus Academy, type your email address and your child's grade and name in the chat. For those of you joined, I see one or two of you joined a little bit late. So we're going to email the presentation. We'll also put the recording on our YouTube channel. If you search for Mathus Academy YouTube channel, you will get it. You will find many interesting webinars, some of that we have done in the past, or other programs that we did in the past, as well as this we'll put on the YouTube channel in a day or two. But we'll email the presentation, and we'll email a link to the YouTube upload as well once it is done. Any questions on PSAT 8-9 or SAT, ACT, how those skills are utilized? Okay, awesome. All right, what are some of the other courses that we offer? I did another webinar at 2 p.m. EST today that is meant for all other courses. But very briefly, for those of you, if you have younger kids, or even some of high schoolers may get benefited by some of these courses, I'll very briefly talk about. So we offer critical thinking math called Math Genius. We also offer math counts, AMC 10, etc. And if you have younger students, they can starting from first, second grades all the way to high school. This is one of our staple courses, very popular. This for younger students especially, it will help build a strong critical thinking skills. Excellent stepping stone for SAT, ACT, and AP courses when they go to high school, as well as useful for many math competitions. We also offer bridge courses in math for school math really during the summer. Similarly, we have a ELA course called Language Genius ELA in writing and reading. We have Language Genius public speaking courses and debate courses. We have Spell Genius spelling course. There's a niche course for only those who are really seriously into spelling or spelling bees. We have a science course. We have actually several science courses. We have our Science Genius course, which is for everyone, but for those probably 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th grade students who want to specifically biology or neuroscience, brain bee, we have those courses as well. Obviously, talking about SAT, ACT, and PSAT. We have coding course in Python for middle school students. We also have Scratch programming for elementary school students. And all of these are available generally as group classes. But we also have one-on-one private coaching. For anybody who prefers a private coaching, we have that available as well. And that typically we customize based on the specific student, what they need. One-on-one courses are customized to that student, and even the schedule is flexible. Group classes are obviously scheduled at a specific time and days, but one-on-one courses we can identify a schedule that works for the student and the teacher. So all the courses are available. If you have any questions, you can email us. Other than SAT, ACT, if you have any other courses for younger students, you can email us as well. So our coaching methodology for SAT, SAT, ACT, and PSAT, we cover all subject areas. In case of SAT and PSAT, math, English, essay, and in case of ACT, math, English, science, and essay. We do sometimes get a request for SAT English alone. So we do offer that. If you have a group of at least 3-4 students, we offer that SAT English as a separate course. Otherwise, our SAT course and ACT course covers all the subject areas required. We have some ongoing courses that started last week. We're starting a few more batches from either last week of May or most are starting from first week of June. So we cover all the concepts. We're not just into practice and test strategies. We also cover that actually teach. We have our own material through which we teach all concepts. We also obviously cover test strategies because SAT and ACT have their own nuances. We teach the specific test strategies. Practice, a lot of practice. Outside the class, we give students a full-length tests as well as specific sections to practice throughout the course. And we review them during the class, in the next class, to make sure that the students actually understand. If they have any gaps, we fill that in the following class. And as I said, we give homework for each class. For all our courses, there will be homework which needs to be done outside the class time and then submitted before the next class. Our homework submissions are typically, we give a Google form. Students have to submit. The teacher, it goes to the teacher before the next class, and during the next class we'll discuss. How long is this SAT course duration? I'm just coming to that, Shailaja. So I'm going to address it soon. So who are our coaches? We are very, very particular, finicky about our coaches who, before anyone gets on to coach a student, they go through several screening and mentoring before they do that. We find that especially for SAT, PSAT, and ACT, but for many other courses as well, but especially for test prep, we find the best coaches are past perfect scorers who got admission to prestigious universities, but not just perfect scorers. Sometimes you might have a perfect scorer, but they're not necessarily a good teacher. So we also look at their teaching experience. So many of, you'll be amazed, there are many high school students who actually take SAT by 9th or 10th grade, and they actually coach other students during later half of high school and in the college. And so we look at their teaching experience, and they do mock teaching before they get qualified to teach. And initially they teach, we put them through one-on-one teaching, make sure they're good at it, and at each point there's filtration process. Only the best of the best and qualified and motivated. The motivation is extremely important, right? Sometimes you might get an adult teacher, but it's just a job. We don't take any teachers who consider it is just a job. Those who are highly passionate and motivated. But I think the most important thing I find is ability to connect with the student, emotionally connect with the student, which means that they themselves had to take the test. So all our coaches have taken in the past and continue to take the test themselves. And I take the test myself. I'd go and take SAT and ACT just for fun, and anybody can take by the test, by the way. Even as parents, you can take a test. You just need to register, pay the fee, and anybody can go and take the test. To truly understand what the student goes through, because this is not just a test of intelligence or knowledge. It is a test of emotional maturity. It's a test of endurance. And so ability to connect with the students. And I find that most children are able to connect well with others who are slightly older than them. Not they. It's much harder for adult to connect with the students. There are some excellent teachers who do that. It is much harder for that. But all of our teachers, we find those who can connect with the students. Even in a group class, we obviously use small groups, 4 to 6 students. And if there are more than that, we make multiple batches. While making the batches, we make sure to put students of similar skill level into one batch. Wherever the students have taken PSAT or SAT in the past, please do send us email us. The scores are, you get actually a score sheet from the college board or from the school, and please email us. That helps us identify where the student is, even if it is a couple of years old. If you have a 9th grader who has taken a SAT during 7th grade for Duke tip, please do send us. We do know that they're more advanced now compared to when they have taken, but it still gives us an idea. Also, their relative strengths, what math versus English, etc. So please do email us their past scores. We use that to group students together. Any questions on our teaching methodology or the course or the coaches? All right. So what is the course duration? So we have many new classes that are starting from June first week, June, July. So there will be 3 times a week. And some are 2 times a week. Some weeks 3 times a week, some weeks 3 times a week. SAT and ACT are 2 hours per session, and PSAT 89 is 1.5 hours per session. So it will be total of 48 hours. And it is 8 weeks or 12 weeks. Actually, I need to make a correction here. We have some courses that are started last week, and they will go for 12 weeks, and they're twice a week. And those who are starting in June mostly will be 3 times a week for 8 weeks. In either case, SAT and ACT is 48 hours, total 48 hours of duration of teaching. Outside of test taking, they have to do outside. After the class, they need to do, we don't count that, but actual teaching is 48 hours. In case of SAT and ACT, in case of PSAT 89, it is 36 hours because 1.5 hours. So that's the duration. Saliza, did it address the question? Then Hamalalitha has a question. Are you offering different courses for SAT and ACT? Yes. SAT is different from ACT, different courses, because their testing methodology is different, testing strategies are different, even subjects are different. ACT has science. So yeah, we offer both separately. We recommend that you take one or the other. You might take, let's say if you choose to take SAT now, and let's say SAT, there is an SAT in August as well as ACT. So take one of them, let the student take, and if you have a 10th or 11th grader, they will also take PSAT in the October. And then ACT, we will also have courses. We'll have courses for every test that is going in future. We'll have new batches that will start. So at the time, if you take ACT now, they can take SAT at the time or other way. But those two are different because we can't really combine the two. Okay, so the total 48 hours over the summer. Some will be 2 times a week, so it'll be anywhere between 8 to 12 weeks, depending on how many times, right? Those who are starting in June, most likely 3 times a week, unless we have actually more than 8 weeks. We may go to 9 or 10 weeks, and some weeks maybe twice, right? We'll work with you once it starts in scheduling. Each batch may be slightly different, but we'll work with the parents. In terms of the specific schedules, days of the week and the time, we are working on that. We'll actually work with you in avoiding any conflicts, because we'll have multiple batches. We'll try to put in a schedule that works for the students. So when you email us, please also send or register on the site, on our website. There's a registration link. You can register there. And over there in the comments, please also mention it. If any schedule conflict, my child has, like every Tuesday evening there's certain so and so piano class or something, just mention that so that we can try to accommodate that at other schedules. And most importantly, I think this summer we have a unique window. Well, I made this presentation earlier. Now probably about 2.5 months over the next before the fall starts, relatively quiet summer, because the travel is going to be hard. So this is a great opportunity for getting a huge bump in the test scores. And for younger students, for any other subjects, right? It's a great opportunity to prepare in any other subjects, but especially for test prep. This is a SAT, ACT, or PSAT is a unique opportunity for intensive preparation. And fees. So by the way, all the fees are there on the website. The schedules, the generic schedules are there on the website. As we finalize specific schedules, that is days of the week and the times, we'll publish on the same post. If you go to mathusacademy.com and click, again, this link is the same, but it will say summer. It won't say Maths Academy classes. It will say summer webinars and classes. It is the first link on their homepage. If you click on that, it will give about all the courses. Typically, the test prep courses are $40 per hour for group courses when we do small groups. But now, because of the COVID-19 situation, we are offering a special discounted fee of $22.50 per hour. So for a 48 hours course of SAT or ACT, it will work out to $1,080. This is the lowest we ever offered, but also the lowest anybody is offered for small group courses. I do get sometimes questions, so I have somebody who offers for an SAT course of the same length for $900 or $800. Ask them how many students will be there in the class. That's very important. Small group size is extremely important for any class, but especially test prep. To individualize, so our coaches actually individualize and pay attention to each student, make it interactive. So we're offering very competitive pricing for the summer. All this information is available on the website. Schedules, generic schedules like what I mentioned is also available on the website, but specific schedules we will publish in the next week or two, but we do recommend that you send us any conflict that you have. We'll work with you to find a schedule that works. Those who register now early, obviously we can work with you. After a couple of weeks, once we finalize the schedule, it's hard to change it. But at this time, if you let us know any schedule conflicts that you have, we can try to work that around. Another question, please let me know group class size for these classes. 4 to 6 students, Sam Lalita. Average is 5, most classes are about 5, but range is 4 to 6, sometimes even lesser depending on the group size that is registered for that particular group, but usually 4 to 6 students. Another question from Madhavi. It came in the private, so others may not read it, may not be able to read it, so I will read it aloud. For 9th graders or 10th graders, is it okay to prep for SAT now, even though most of the concept they probably have not learned yet? Great question. So let me address in 2 parts. First, actually, a majority of the concepts for SAT and ACT are already covered in middle school. That's interesting because because SAT and ACT are meant for high school students and college admission, but a majority of the concepts are based on middle school syllabus. There is some syllabus which is based on 9th or 10th grade, but majority is already covered. And some students obviously are ahead. They are taking whatever additional outside classes, etc. They may know the concepts. There are few concepts which are not covered, and we cover all the concepts during the class. So it's and again, it depends on the student. If the student is struggling a little bit, maybe they should wait. But for most students, for 9th or 10th, 11th graders, in fact, nowadays, most 9th or 10th graders are the ones who are taking SAT. And it's, we find that because we also teach the concepts, we don't just give the test strategies. So it is okay to do that. We have actually more 9th and 10th graders than 11th graders who take our classes. Madhavi, did it address the question? Next question.
Yes, Ram, thank you. Because my daughter is not in the advanced program for math. And I won't call her struggling because she gets A+ scores, but her teacher doesn't think that it would be good for her to go to advanced math in the 9th grade. So that's why I was like, if it is in a group class and then the kids from different, intellectual abilities will come and, she may struggle. That's what I was trying to understand.
Yeah, no, in that case, probably I would recommend PSAT 8-9 for your daughter.
Oh yeah, right. That's right. I have that option. Right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Another question from another parent. This also came in private, so I will read it aloud. My son took PSAT and got 950. He's going to 9th grade next year. Is it okay for him to register SAT this summer? Same with, yeah. So same as the previous question. That's what he meant. Previous question of another parent. So 950 out of 1440 in 8th grade. Yeah, that's a reasonable score. So probably PSAT 8-9 will be good. Sometimes I can't tell just based on the score, because there's just one data point. It depends on several things. But if he's doing okay but not advanced, probably I will recommend PSAT 8-9. And then the next summer or during the academic year next summer, you can take SAT. Shailesh, did address the question? Okay. All right. Any other questions? I think that's the end of my presentation. Okay, how do you register for the class? You can go to, the link is right here, or you can go to mathsacademy.com. I need to change this. It doesn't say Maths Academy classes anymore because we started this summer courses. It says summer webinars and classes. Click on that link, and or you just directly go to this link. I'll also email for all those who entered your email addresses in the chat box. We'll email this presentation, so you can click on this link or you can go to the website. Unfortunately, we have limited seats. So if you want to reserve a seat, you can go ahead and reserve. 50% of the fee you can pay to PayPal based on this. It's also, again, information available on the website. And you can reserve the seat, and we'll work with you on the schedule. Don't worry about the schedule. We will, for those who registered early, we always accommodate. We will work with you on the schedule, specific schedule, I mean. Another question, can you talk about PSAT schedule before you finish the webinar? So PSAT schedule, so we have one batch that is started last week. It will go for 12 weeks, twice a week, 1.5 hours, 36 hours as I mentioned. So one option is we have students who join even after it starts a little bit. So we'll do a catch-up class for them, so that anything that is covered, we cover and provide the recordings and the material. And then they can continue for the rest of the summer. That is one option. Second option is we are going to start new batches from June 1st week, PSAT batches. That will be 3 times a week, 1.5 hours per week for 8 weeks. It might also go to 9 or 10 weeks, in which case some weeks probably is going to be 2 weeks or 3 weeks. We'll work with you specifically. Each batch will accommodate, right? Once a batch starts, we'll keep that, and we can, teacher and the students can work on the schedules. We're flexible that way. As long as it works for everyone, we accommodate. Sometimes it's not easy to reschedule once it starts, but for a particular student, but we can we can go 1 week into August. If everybody is okay, then we might make twice a week for 1 or 2 weeks extra. But usually between 8 to 12 weeks for 2 to 3 times a week. And PSAT is going to be 1.5 hours, SAT or ACT is 2 hours. Another question, my daughter is enrolled in Cambridge and she is not required to take SAT. Is it still beneficial to take SAT? So she's not required to take SAT. Does she have PSAT? So one reason why many students still take SAT is the school might still offer PSAT in 11th grade or even 10th grade for scholarship purpose. If SAT is not required because of specific reason, that is the only thing I can think of. So actually 2 reasons. One, either for Duke tip, things like Duke tip, or for PSAT for National Merit Scholarship, because the scholarship is given during the college. And to qualify that, the only way to qualify for that scholarship is based on your PSAT score during the high school. Sneha, did it answer the question? All right, okay. Any other questions? I think that's the end of my presentation, but I can hang on for it's a 6:20 EST. We went over a little bit. I can now probably answer one or two other questions and can close. If you would like the presentation, and if you already gave the email, you will get your email address. You will email this presentation and the link to the recording. If you haven't already given the email, I think many of you already given, but if you haven't given yet, please provide and we'll email it to you. If there are no other questions, you can close now. And if you have specific questions related to how to register for your student, or specific questions, or if you have a younger student for you want math or English or science or coding, etc., just email us. Or you can either go to that link and register, and there's a comment. You can mention any comments that you have, or you can just email us. My email is ram@mathusacademy.com. I'll enter it here in the chat for everyone. So my email is ram@mathusacademy.com, or you can also send it to support@mathusacademy.com, which goes to all of our staff, which including me. If you are working, some of you, if you already registered, you might be working with either Sridevi or Ramya. Sridevi@mathusacademy.com or Ramya@mathusacademy.com. You can also email them if you are already working with them. If you want to talk to me, I will also give my number, 209-862-8487. You can text me. The best way to reach me is text me, and then we can talk. You can also call me, but if I'm on a call, I may leave a voicemail. But if you text me, that's the most reliable way to reach me. All right. Any other questions before we close? All right. It's great talking to you, and look forward to talking to you in person, and seeing your children in the classes. Bye. Have a good rest of the weekend. By the way, we have other webinars. So if you are looking, we have specific webinars related to math, for example, or ELA. There is one tomorrow. There's one on ELA and one on spelling. Tomorrow, 2 p.m. EST. ELA for younger students, elementary or middle school students, or spell genius class for those who are interested in spelling. That's tomorrow, 5 p.m. PST. Sorry, 5 p.m. EST. So you can join one of those webinars. And for math, genius, critical thinking, I am doing on the website. You will find all the schedules. You are, if any of your friends are interested in joining, they can join there as well. Bye.